Yes, many emotionally abusive people can change, but change for someone like that requires these three things. Empathy. They need to feel empathetic for the hurt they put you through. Vulnerability. They need to connect with the deeper pain, fear, or anger inside themselves and process those things so that those things don't turn into abusive behaviors. Humility. When they decide to make the change and they want to heal from being the emotionally abusive person, they need to be okay being called out on behaviors that they themselves may think aren't harmful. That happens a lot. If this is you or someone you know that is ready to make the change, look into the program that literally is changing lives over at healedbeing.com. Life presents the toughest challenges. Every day you are faced with decisions that test your ability to express who you really want to be in this world. We're told to keep saying affirmations and keep thinking positively, but what do you do when that stuff doesn't work? Welcome to the Overwhelmed Brain, where you'll learn to make decisions that are right for you so that you can create the life you want now. Hey, this is Paul Coliani, and I want to help you learn the skill set you need to deal with life's challenges in the most emotionally intelligent way. This show consists of my personal opinions and is meant for informational purposes only. All right, so I'm going to get right into an email that I received that I haven't necessarily thought too much about, and I'm going to think out loud while I record this. I hope it doesn't annoy you. This person wrote, "Hey Paul, I love your show and I've been listening for a few months. It has really helped me grow as a person and become much mentally healthier." Great. And thank you for those words. About a year ago, my ex-boyfriend broke up with me and I healed from the relationship very openly. Now a year later, his new wife has been stalking my social media accounts. She has been commenting on my posts saying I tried to hurt myself, which I didn't, and calling me crazy. I'm changing some of the things that she said here because I want to keep her privacy. But she says she's calling her crazy, and when I block her, her friends begin requesting to follow her or start following her, and I can't get away from her. I am happily in a new relationship, and I haven't said anything about my ex in months. I have him blocked everywhere. Why is she so obsessed with me? Could I have done something to cause this? How do I get her to leave me alone? All right, so thank you so much for writing that. Sorry you're going through this. Wow. I actually can relate to this a little bit, not on the romantic front, but I did an episode over at Love and Abuse, my other podcast, loveandabuse.com, and someone's partner, a male, started, I guess you could say, stalking me and writing terrible reviews about me, going on to my Facebook page and just trying to tell the world how awful and manipulative I was. Now, my other podcast, Love and Abuse, talks about emotionally abusive people and the victim of abuse and what they look for, or what they can look for, and what defines healthy communication and what defines a healthy relationship. And I also talk to the emotionally abusive person. I don't necessarily cater to them on that show, but I do talk to them here and there because I know that there are people that tune in that probably want to know how to stop hurting those they love. In fact, right at the beginning of this show, during what's called the pre-roll, I talked about my program, Healed Being, and that program helps emotionally abusive people change so that they stop hurting those they love. And a lot of them, well, some of them, will listen to Love and Abuse because they hear what the victim of emotional abuse goes through. And hearing that helps them comprehend what the victim is experiencing, helping them become more empathetic. That's one of the first components I listed in the very beginning at the pre-roll, is that they need empathy to change. And so they listen to Love and Abuse, and that's why when I create episodes of Love and Abuse, I'm very fair. I'm fair to both sides. And because of that, that means that anyone that listens should get something from it. And also how to heal their relationship. If you're having any relationship difficulties, that show will probably help you. So that was kind of a preamble to what I'm about to say of relating to this person who wrote, is that a woman who listened to my show at Love and Abuse wrote in and thanked me, and I was very grateful, and she said she was going through some stuff. But I think she shared one of the episodes with her husband, which she said she was having difficulty with. And her husband just ended up hating me. He did not like me at all because he thought I must be convincing victims of emotional abuse and controlling people and manipulative people. He thought I was convincing them to leave those abusive people. But if he listened, which he did actually, he listened to the show and he accepted what I was saying, it would actually help him fix his relationship. It would help him fix his relationship and save his marriage. I mean, it was my opinion. Maybe they had more going on than I understood, but it would have helped him save his relationship because I teach you how to communicate in a healthy way. I mean, I do that over here too, but that's very specific to all relationships. It doesn't have to be just romantic. Any relationship you have, family, friend, platonic, anyone, even with yourself. You can treat yourself better if you listen to that show, but mainly with other people. And actually, in one of the episodes of Love and Abuse, I read one of his reviews of me. And he just really put me down. And I just wanted to read on the air. I wanted to be open. I wanted to be transparent about it and address what he said. So I did that. I addressed what he said in one of my episodes. And I was very kind to him. And I said, hey, you're having issues with your relationship, and you have an opportunity to save this relationship. You have an opportunity to be kind to someone who wants to be kind back and create a wonderful relationship with you and continue a wonderful relationship with you, but she's having a hard time doing it. And I'm giving you details on how to make this work. And he just wasn't having it. He wanted to be who he was. He didn't think he was wrong. He thought I was the bad guy. Yet he was the one losing the relationship, and I was there giving him what I thought were really good suggestions. I wasn't going to say solutions, but suggestions. It probably would have worked. He didn't like it. He ended up writing me another nasty review. And this is where I'm going, I ended up blocking him because you can only take so much. You can only take so much toxic behavior from someone. And I'm thinking, wow, if he's this toxic toward me, and I'm actually feeling emotionally harmed by him, I mean, in a certain degree, a certain level of emotional harm. If I'm going through this at this small level, what's his wife going through? That's just awful. So that was my thought process, but I had to block him. And this is exactly what this person's writing about, is that I'm blocking this person, and now her friends are following me, and her friends are probably reporting back to her. What would you do, Paul? What would I do? Well, I had to block him at every turn. Wherever he followed me or however he reached me, I just blocked him, and he disappeared. And I still wish him the best, because that could have been me 20 years ago. I knew I was right, and no one's going to tell me how to live my life. No one's going to put any rules on me or tell me how to treat my wife. I know how to treat her. That would have been me. In some ways, that would have been me. So again, I wish him the best. I hope that he has learned what the problem is in the relationship and learned maybe what behaviors that he could change in himself so that he could create better relationships and feel lighter inside himself, so he didn't have to deal with any relationship issues because he's learned a lot of things about himself and healed. But maybe he didn't. But either way, I still wish him the best. But I don't want to be around his toxic behavior. And that's a big lesson, I think, for everyone. We can only expose ourselves so much to toxic behavior. I don't want to be around toxic behavior for too long. In fact, I was just talking to a very good friend / relative of mine, and she said, I don't want to hang around him anymore. Talking about my stepfather. I gave him a ride once and I talked to him once and I just don't want to hang around him anymore. He's very toxic. I forget what words she used, but that's my words. He's very toxic. And when I'm around him, I don't feel good. I get ill. She was just sharing that I don't feel good after hanging out with him. And I call this person, my stepfather, who's really great material for this show, because he has taught me so much about toxic behavior, about addiction, about codependency, about a lot of stuff. He's taught me so much. And so I am grateful for those lessons. And I am grateful not to be near him. And this relative I was talking to, she's saying, I don't want to be near him anymore because he's what I call a vortex of misery. He's like a tornado that lands in your living room and you can't get away from him, and you get sucked into the misery and the drama of his life and his lies and his neediness for you to do things for him. It's always about doing something for him. And if you don't get out of that vortex, then you stay spinning around that misery. It's constant misery when you're near that toxic element or the vortex of misery. So you pull yourself out and you do whatever you can to pull yourself out. Just like this person who wrote, she is in this similar vortex of misery. And what's happening is that other people are following her and now probably reporting back to this toxic person. And I'm wondering if these people that are following her, maybe they're fake accounts, maybe they're friends that don't understand that this other person might be lying to them. Typically somebody who's narcissistic, sociopathic, emotionally abusive. Some people will lie to their friends, and they will get those friends to do or say things to the person they're lying about to make that person feel cornered, make that person feel bad because they're lying about them, they're saying bad things about them. And who knows what her ex-boyfriend's girlfriend or wife, who knows what she's saying about this person who wrote. But my point is, you're going to pull yourself from the vortex of misery. And how you do that is what she's already doing. I've blocked. Now I'm still trying to get away. I'm blocking. And again, you continue blocking because that's really one of the main ways to stay away from somebody like that. You just continue blocking. Now, I'm going to maybe get a little technical here, and I don't even know if I'm right, but I think if these were fake accounts that you kept blocking, that I think it's on Facebook, you're saying, if it's on Facebook, I think Facebook or even Instagram would probably have an algorithm that says, hey, the person creating these accounts is all coming from the same computer, and you keep blocking them, so our algorithm is saying, you don't want this person in your life. I don't know if that's true. And maybe what you need to do is start reporting it. So right now I'm giving you very practical advice that might be wrong. I don't know if Facebook or whatever social media platform this is knows which computer. It probably does. It knows which computer any fake accounts are being created on. My guess is maybe she's either lying to friends and then having those friends follow you, or creating fake accounts. Either way, you're being followed, you're being stalked, and it's hard not to get away from that when you're on social media because it's a public platform. So what you do is continue blocking. Whoever follows you, just block. If you don't know them, block them. If somebody follows you and you don't know them, block them. Anything you post will not be seen by them. And then go into your privacy settings. Typically there are settings or privacy settings in social media accounts where you can limit your post to just friends. If you look in the help section, you'll find out how to block people and stay limited exposure online. So that's really my only advice. I can't think of any other way to get away from this person. You did ask, why is she so obsessed with me? My guess to that is that she's just super insecure. Like, somebody dated my boyfriend. that makes me feel insecure because that person is probably not better than me, but she thinks she's better than me, or my boyfriend thinks she's better than me, and I can't have that be true, because if it's true, then I feel bad about myself. So what I'm going to do is make that person, the person who wrote, feel bad about themselves so I feel better about myself. That could be. That's typically what a bully does, is that they don't feel very good about themselves, so they'll bully or intimidate somebody else and make that person feel really bad about themselves, which makes the bully feel better because it's a power trip. I've made that person feel bad. That makes me feel good. I have power. I've done something bad, or I've done something powerful that that person couldn't defend and couldn't stop. And she may feel like she has ownership of her boyfriend, this person that's stalking you. I own this man. He is my man. And because you dated him, that makes you an enemy. So now he has to deal with this, his wife, and I guarantee you, whatever you're experiencing, just like I told you my story, whatever you're experiencing, he's getting it full force. He's experiencing 10 times, 100 times worse. I'm not trying to minimize what you're going through at all, because it sucks. It's terrible. But what he's experiencing must be awful, because it sounds like she's very possessive. It sounds like she's jealous. It sounds like she's insecure, and insecurity can lead to many toxic or dysfunctional behaviors. And so there's a whole list of stuff going on that what you're getting is probably just a tiny piece of the pie of what he's experiencing. Again, not trying to minimize or invalidate, but I am maybe painting a bigger picture that helps you understand that it's probably not just you going through this, and this person is just crazy, and it's not about her obsession with you, even though it is, but it's just the type of person she is. So whether it's you, I mean, maybe he's got other exes that she's also stalking, who knows? So you're not so special that you are being singled out necessarily. You could be, but it's good to not be special when you're around somebody like this. If you are that special one that this person is stalking, yes, that's a terrible thing, and it's not a good place to be. So block, 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 like you are. Only allow friends that you know to connect with you. And if you're a social butterfly and you make all kinds of friends, I think I have like 1,500, like 7 I know. And if you are that type of person, then you just got to monitor. Just got to monitor and keep blocking, and they eventually give up. If you are not fighting back, and this is what I recommend, don't show signs of resistance. Don't write a post saying so-and-so is following me, or there's some crazy, you know what, following me. Don't post that, because that's what she's looking for. She is trying to fuel the flame of your anger, your upset. And once you show a negative reaction, she wins, or she thinks she wins. She feels like a winner. We don't want her to win. We don't want her to lose either. We just want her to go away. I mean, that's what I feel. We don't want someone to be hurt. We don't want someone to feel good that they're hurting us. We just want them to go away. And if we can't make them go away, then we go away. We fade out of their lives. And that's where I'm taking you, is that you fade out of someone's life by blocking them at every avenue. You're going no contact. If she knows your phone number, block her phone number. If she finds a way to call you, I hate to say it, maybe change your phone number, change your email address, maybe even change your Facebook or your Twitter or whatever, Instagram. You might have to do that. You might have to kind of disappear and tell your friends, hey, this is where I'm going. I don't know if that's feasible. I don't know if it's logical. You just have to slowly fade, or fast fade, from that person's life until they realize it's completely pointless. They are not getting their needs met, their need to see you hurting. When you are not fulfilling someone's need to see you in pain or suffering, they go away because there's no fuel. They're not being fed their supply. That's what they call narcissistic supply. When the narcissist is hurting you in some way, they are being supplied. It's feeding them. However they're treating you, there's a reason they're treating you the way they do that feeds them. And it makes them feel good or powerful or fulfills their ego in some way, watching someone else suffer or feel inferior or whatever. They are doing this purposefully. So she is doing this purposefully. She wants to get your goat. She wants to make you feel bad. She wants to see you suffer. Who cares why? There are people out there, like I said, that want to see me suffer. I'm not going to spend any time on those people. Block, block, block. I'm not spending a moment on those people. If you want to see me suffer, I will disappear from your life. Because there is probably hatred or malice or dislike or something in their heart that they're carrying around because they haven't healed something in themselves and they just want to point at other people for the cause of all their problems in their life. They are what I call the dramatic victim. Everything is dramatic and I'm a victim to the world. And when I'm a victim to the world, it's everyone else's fault. So it's your fault that my marriage is in shambles right now. Because maybe that's what she thinks. Maybe her husband is saying, my ex-girlfriend never did this. My ex-girlfriend always kissed me before we went to sleep, and you never do. My ex this, my ex that. Yeah, that's going to make her pretty upset because now she has to compete with somebody that's not even in his life, but she always thinks that you're better in his eyes, so that could be it too. But it still doesn't make her very nice. That's a problem between them. And if for some miracle she tuned into this episode, I would tell her, tell your husband that when you say things like that, it makes me feel devalued. It makes me feel disrespected. It makes me feel like you don't love me and that you're always focused on someone else in your life. So if you are not going to change that about yourself, if you're not going to stop saying those things, I can't be around you because I want to be in a relationship where I feel loved, I feel valued, and I know that the person I'm with is focused on me. So if you have a problem with me, talk to me. That's what I would say to her. Probably more than that, and probably not exactly like that, but that's how I would talk to this person. If you're obsessed about someone else in their past, that's not their issue over there. It's the person in front of you. That's their issue. That's the person that you're with. You got to talk to them, not other people in their life, because they're the person in front of you. That's your loyalty. That's your commitment right there. Your loyalty isn't to other people outside of this communion that you have right here. So that's what I would tell her. And what I'm telling you, I'm hoping works. You asked, could I have done something to cause this? I highly doubt it, because it sounds like what I just said, maybe the husband did say something, or your ex-boyfriend did say something that, involved you in some way. Or maybe she found a picture of you and she's really angry that he still has a picture of you. I'm sorry. But it's not even anything to be sorry about. It's just the past. It's just part of his life. And maybe the wife is insecure and jealous and possessive, like I said, and that makes you the bad guy. So no matter what you do, you're probably not the bad guy at all, unless you interfered with their marriage in some way. Totally different story. But you didn't put that in your message, so I'm going to assume that you didn't do anything wrong. And so you're just disliked by somebody for pretty much nothing you did, except dated somebody that she's married to a long time ago, and who knows why she's angry now. We don't know, or obsessed, or whatever. Could you have done something to cause this? Yes, but did you? And does it matter? Now it doesn't. Now it doesn't, because if you did something to cause this, the adult, healthy conversation would be the wife would come to you and say, or reach out to you through whatever, social media, and say, I'm really angry with you because you did X. That would be the healthy comment to make. And then you can have a dialogue. And then you can say, I'm sorry that happened, or you could say, well, that's too bad. That's just how it is. But she didn't, and she's making your life miserable, and she's not even telling you why. So there's nothing you can do about people like that. So could you have done something to cause this? It doesn't really matter. How about, how do I get her to leave me alone? That's your last question. Hopefully what I said is enough. Sometimes you just have to get away from obsessive people, and especially those who don't like you. So I hope I gave you enough to help you help her leave you alone, and that's just fading out of her existence in every possible way. You don't have to concern yourself that you did anything, because you don't want to look in the rearview mirror. You just want to move forward. And also ignore, and block. You do not need to spend any of your time or energy thinking about her, and if she just shows up because she has a friend follow you or a fake account follow you, then you can just block, maybe report that profile and move on. That's my advice to you. I hope it helps. It's probably not the magic pill to resolve this, because people who are really obsessed are going to do everything they can. So you just have to be careful. Don't be paranoid. Just look in the rearview mirror every now and then just to make sure she's not there. I mean, metaphorically, you want to look in the rearview mirror every now and then just to make sure she's not there. But she'll probably go away. Most people fade away as you fade away because they're not getting the response that they want. I hope this helps. Thanks for writing. We'll be right back with my next segment, which is a little change in direction. I'll tell you all about it after this. I heard a term called doom scrolling. It's the first time I've ever heard this term, and I was looking at my notes on BetterHelp Online Therapy. They sponsor today's episode, and they said that people don't always realize that physical symptoms like headaches, teeth grinding, and even digestive issues can be indicators of stress. And then they said, let's not forget about doom scrolling. Doom scrolling, what is that? So I looked it up, and it's the act of doom scrolling is spinning continuously through bad news despite its disheartening and depressing effects. And I realized I do that. I mean, I'm not necessarily getting depressed, but it's certainly not making me feel any better. Looking at all the bad news, looking at all the stuff about war and people being shot, and every single headline, I'm sitting there doom scrolling, and I'm looking at the headlines. What's interesting? I want to read what's interesting. And there's probably some sort of morbid curiosity that just keeps me scrolling. And I realized I got to stop doing this. I got to stop doom scrolling. And now that I know it's a term, it makes me realize that there's probably a lot of people that do this. And it does affect your levels of stress and anxiety and how much pressure you're putting on yourself, thinking that the world is nothing but bad news. So that's why services like BetterHelp exist. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with a therapist so that you don't have to see anyone on camera, and it's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and it's online, so you don't even have to leave the comfort of your home or your car, wherever you want to do it, and you can send a message to your therapist anytime you need to, and they are there to help you. They are there to help you through all the bad headlines. If you find yourself doom scrolling, if you're not sleeping enough, or you're sleeping too much, or you're under-eating or overeating, if you just find that there's too much stress in your life and you want to talk to somebody one-on-one, this is the service that I recommend all the time. If you've been listening a while, you've heard me talk about them probably for the last 2 years now, and I always get good feedback on them. So I highly recommend you check out BetterHelp. That's BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/brain. And by going to that URL, that website, you will get 10% off your first month. So at least give it a try. Try a month and see if online therapy can help you lower your stress. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/brain. Welcome back. Like I said, I'm going to take a little different direction in this segment, and I'm just going to read you a message that I sent to someone that was having a relationship issue, a romantic relationship issue. You're not going to have the full context, but it may apply to you if you're in a relationship and you're questioning things. Maybe you're questioning if you should stay in the relationship, if you aren't sure how you feel about the other person. I'm just going to read the message that I sent to this person, and I'm just reading it in case anyone out there can also benefit from what I shared with this person. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull this up and read it to you. Let me pull it up here. All right, here it is. Like I said, you're not going to have too much context, but you'll probably understand it when I read the message. You'll probably understand what's happening. Thanks for sharing this. What you described sounds to me like you fell for the person he was and lost love for the person he is. And I would probably add, or became. Maybe there was a part of that old him that made you feel special. Maybe it was exciting. Maybe it was risky and it was kind of cool. Or maybe now that he's settled down into a, quote, better man, the person he is without all the gallivanting, he's not the person you really ever wanted. Maybe who he was being before was hiding who he really was the whole time. But now you find him incompatible. You clearly find the nuances about him annoying, which is always a sign things aren't going in the right direction. And I'm willing to bet him not standing up to his family makes him look less masculine in your eyes. If that's the case, you could feel like he wouldn't stand up for you when and if the time ever came. Or has that time come already? Here's a question that can help you decide. Imagine you woke up tomorrow and you found a note that said, "I'm sorry, but I've decided to move on. I know this is abrupt and we were planning a future together, but I just don't think I'm in love with you anymore. I realize this is a terrible way to end things, but I have to do this. I hope you understand. I wish you the best." How do you feel about that? And when you think about the next day after you get that note, and the next week, and the next month after you receive that note, how do you feel now that he's gone from your life? All love is conditional. Don't beat yourself up. The only love that I've ever seen that's unconditional is that of a parent to a child. He is not a child, and you are not his parent. Love can only exist when the conditions are right for the both of you. When they are not, love has trouble. And love and in love are two different things. You can love someone you're not in love with. Like my first long-term girlfriend loved me, but she still left me because she was no longer in love with me. In love is loving how you feel in and about yourself when you're with someone. Do you love how you feel about yourself when you're with him? Do you love the feelings you have when you're together? You've already answered those questions in your message to me. That doesn't mean you don't love things about him or there aren't times when you feel wonderful being with him. But imagine if he never, ever changes who he is. Will you be okay with who he is in a year? In 5 years? If you aren't okay with him now, you won't be later. You may have fallen out of love because of everything that happened in the beginning. That happens a lot. When someone goes through hell with a partner, their heart can close permanently. Then, because they don't want to be the kind of person to close their heart to someone who cares about them, they struggle for a long time trying to recover their love for the other person. Sometimes it can't be recovered. Sometimes the love can't be recovered. How you answer those questions above is going to give you the answers you need. The next step is about doing the most loving thing you can do for the both of you. Either stay and open your heart to him fully, or if you can't do that, give him the gift of letting him go to find someone who can. That doesn't mean you're awful. It just means you care enough to do the best thing for both of you. Sometimes love is enough, but sometimes you need more. And then to conclude this message I sent her, I said, I wrote an article that may be helpful to you, and the article is at theoverwhelmedbrain.com, and it's called, I think, Divorcing the Thoughts of Staying in a Bad Marriage. You can just look up the word divorce in the search field and you should find it. That is about being married, but it applies to any committed relationship. And I ended the message with saying, I hope this is helpful and I wish you much strength with your decision. So I wanted to read that to you in case you had any thoughts or concerns or trepidation about your current relationship if you're in a relationship. I saw a review on iTunes that said, you only talk about relationships. If you've been listening for a long time, I started off talking about relationships early on in the show, but then I realized that we are in relationships with everyone, with romantic, platonic, family. There's so many relationships we have, even relationships with ourselves. And so to the person who wrote that review, thank you for sharing that. I always mean relationships with anyone. So you can apply, maybe not necessarily this specific message because it talks about being in love, and that's usually about romantic relationships, but you can apply almost anything I talk about in relationships with anyone. I just don't normally say, no matter if it's your friend, your family, your coworker, or your husband, your wife, your parent, your son, I don't say all of that stuff because it takes a long time to put in there. But I do try to keep that in mind all the time. And I've had somebody write out to me at least, I think 5 years ago and say, all you do is talk about romantic relationships. I will say this, 98% of the messages I get are about romantic relationships. So that's probably why I was doing that for a while. But I do try to focus now on you. I want you to be empowered to make decisions that are right for you. And so in order to do that, since we are in a world of relationships, I do talk about relationships a lot in all senses. So I just kind of wanted to get that out of the way as an aside. Coming back to this romantic relationship question, the reason I read it is because there are people out there that might have questions about their relationship or might be thinking or contemplating or whatever. What should I do? Should I leave? And one of the things that can come up in a romantic relationship that's having an issue is that there's a point with one or both partners where the heart closes. I talk about this over in Healed Being. I talk about this over at loveandabuse.com. There's a point sometimes where you'll be with someone and either your heart will close or theirs will. Now, close, it can happen for multiple reasons. It can happen because you get sick of their behavior. If they're mean, if they're hurtful, if they don't care about you, if they're neglectful, that can happen. Your heart can close because of that. The heart can also close because of incompatibility. Like you get, I hate to say it this way, you get bored in the relationship because there's nothing to talk about. You don't have similar values. Maybe you have different views or political views or religious views. That can help cause the heart to close. The reason I wrote this message to this person, because she says she loves the person, but she can't get past this resistance or this block, and she doesn't know what it's about. And she shared some stuff like this, her boyfriend or whoever it was, she said that he used to be more gregarious and outgoing and, like I use the word, gallivanting, and just kind of very extroverted. And he calmed down, and she said he became a better person, and she just didn't find him as interesting or couldn't find the connection that she had before. And so this is why I sent her that message. And I believe it's important to think about what happened in the past. If your heart has closed, or if you feel that someone else's heart has closed in a relationship that you're in, then think about something in the past that may have changed. Like, I like to think about if something happened at a specific time, and after that specific time or event, were they different? Were they different after that? A good example of that is when my first girlfriend showed up at my work. And I wasn't really happy to see her because I felt a little awkward when she showed up, because she was dressed in a way back then that I thought was very masculine. And so I felt a little embarrassed. Wouldn't bother me at all today. But back then, I was judgmental, I was critical, and I had a superiority complex. And she walked in and she took the time to come and see me. She wanted to see me. She showed up, and it was such a nice gesture for any romantic partner to do. Hi, honey, it's good to see you. I wanted to surprise you at work. And when I didn't show gratitude, and I even said, wow, look how you're dressed, or something like that, I think our relationship changed after that. Because she put in so much effort to come and see me, and she felt so good about seeing me, and it was going to be a nice surprise, and I should have been so touched. And I wasn't. And I think after that, our relationship changed. I mean, there were other things going on in our relationship too, but that was a pivotal moment. And our relationship lasted for years after that. And we never talked about that moment again. And I think it got swept under the rug. And I think that's when her heart started to close. I could be completely wrong, but I think it was another nail in the coffin for that relationship. I could be wrong that that's the pivotal thing for her, but the way I look at it is, wow, I made that mistake. I should have been so happy to see her. I shouldn't have even thought about anything but her making time to see me. It was just a wonderful gesture, and I threw it away. I threw that moment away. And it made her, I'm sure it made her feel bad. And it probably made her question if she was in the right relationship. And I'm putting many words and many thoughts in her mind and her mouth, and I don't know if that's true, but I feel bad about that moment. I feel guilty, or at least I did feel guilty, and I had to heal from that. I had to think about what I could have done differently. But I do look back and think that was a pivotal moment in that relationship. That was just an awful thing to do, and I wish I hadn't done it. So it changed our relationship. It changed the way we related. It changed how we communicated in subtle ways, because she still loved me, but I have a feeling the door to her heart was closing. And this can happen in a lot of relationships where there is a pivotal moment in the relationship where the door starts closing. And if it's not addressed, then the door can close permanently. Even if it's addressed, even if it's brought up again, someone can feel so jilted that it alters the course of the relationship forever. And sometimes you can't change that. And if you've ever had an event in a relationship where that happened, where the door started closing, there may have been no stopping it. This is one of those things where the threshold has been met, and there's no stopping the meltdown that's going to occur at the nuclear power plant. It's just going to happen. Critical mass has been met. And once critical mass has been met, you can't stop the chain reaction. And so after that point, the relationship can change, and someone's heart can close, and there may be no going back. And there's nothing you can do sometimes. Sometimes there's nothing you can do, so you just are going through the motions after that. So I'm not saying that the person that I sent this message to has reached that point. She actually wrote back and said, you know what, I'm going to try to recover this, my heart. I'm going to try to recover my love for this person. I'm going to try to find it if it's there. If it's there, then, the relationship can be great because, like you heard me say, he has become a better man. But I questioned if there was something underneath that person that she saw that maybe she didn't like, and there was sort of a behavior that he was showing in the beginning that made her feel like she was maybe in a exciting relationship, and when he became a quote better man, the excitement disappeared and it wasn't replaced with anything else. So I don't know if her heart is closed or not. I'm sure she'll write me back maybe months or years from now and say this is what happened, and that would be great if she did. I hope she does. But I wanted to share that with you for an understanding that the heart can close, and when the heart closes, sometimes there's no opening it. And if you're in a relationship where somebody has closed their heart to you, or you became single because somebody closed their heart, my only advice is don't try to talk them back into opening it. Don't try to convince them. Don't say, hey, I'll try harder, or I'm so sorry about that day once again. Don't try to talk them into it. The best gift you can give to someone like that is to say, I understand. I understand why you closed your heart that day. I mean, if you ever have this conversation or you ever talk about, are you still in love with me anymore? The best thing you can do is support their path and say, I understand, why the love ended. I understand why the relationship ended. And I understand why you chose the way you did. I understand why you didn't want to be with me anymore. And I support your path doing that. It does hurt not being with you, but I would rather see you happy without me than unhappy with me. I'm not saying you have to use these words, and somebody might be listening now thinking, why would I say that? That kind of drives them away, doesn't it? Well, you empower someone with the gift of choice. When you do that, when you empower someone with the gift of choice, it usually puts you in a better light. It usually makes them feel better about you. It makes them feel safer about you and with you. It makes them trust you more because you are not telling them what to do. You're not trying to control them. You're not trying to put thoughts in their mind. You're just letting them be. You are letting them know that you are not going to interfere with the path they want to follow. If somebody did that for you, wouldn't that be the most amazing, liberating gift that anyone could give? I'm sure there are better gifts, but you know what I mean? It's like somebody gives you the choice to do anything you want, and they say, I support that. I mean, that's my definition of love. I support the path you're on. I support what makes you happy. I define love as supporting someone's path to happiness. So when you support the path they're on and you support their happiness, whatever makes them happy, you support the decisions they make that make them happy, even if those decisions take them away from you, that is the greatest, most loving, most supportive thing you could ever do for anyone. So the reason I share my definition of love and allowing them to be who they are is that it allows them to have options. It gives them choice. Choice is a wonderful gift. Options is a wonderful gift. If I asked you, why do you want to be a millionaire? Let's just say that you want to have lots of money. One of your answers probably will be, I have more options. So if you give someone the ability to have more options without your interference, without your resistance, you're giving them a gift. That may come in the form of money. It may come in the form of doing what I'm saying here today, is saying, I support you. I support your path. And whatever you need to do for yourself, as long as you're happy, that makes me happy. Because I honor you, honoring yourself. I love you, loving yourself. I am happy for you when you do things that make you happy. That could be a slim chance at reconciliation. I'm not saying you use that as a manipulation, because if you do this honestly and genuinely, it's because you care about the person. So supporting their path allows them to be themselves. It's really what it comes down to. I want you to be yourself. Just be yourself around me. And if you don't want to be with me, then I support that too. Not many people can do that. It's very difficult. A lot of us are really happy to be with people that make us happy. But when they're not in our life, do we tell them, you need to come back? I want you back. I have to have you back. If they don't want it, if they don't want to be back, if they need time to themselves, do we give it? I think it's important to give that gift. And if they choose to have a life without you or make decisions without you, and they are no longer in your life or you're no longer in their life, then a very hard road to take. But like I said, when you support that and you honor it in them, it shows that you really care about their happiness, because they're making choices for themselves. And you want people like that. You want people to do that for you. It's the most amazing gift, in my opinion. It's the most amazing gift in any type of relationship. I want you to be the person you want to be. I want you to do what you want to do. It's like a birthday gift that you give every day. This is your birthday today. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? It's your day. It should be your day every day. That's the kind of relationship I like. When it's your day every day and you make it their day every day. It's reciprocal. It's supposed to be. When it isn't, that's when things can get out of hand, get confusing, and get pretty hard, and it's just no fun anymore. So I hope something in this message helps someone out there today. And I want to thank this person that I sent this message to, and I hope she sends me an update someday telling me what happened. Either I've moved on or I found that there was love still in my heart for him and I decided to stay. I don't know. I guess I'll know in a few months or a few years. I hope she writes back. And thanks for tuning in today. I hope this was helpful to you in some way. We'll be right back with my thank yous and my goodbyes and my final words right after this. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Overwhelmed Brain. I want to thank our sponsor today, BetterHelp. Go to betterhelp.com/brain and get 10% off your first month of excellent online therapy. I also want to thank the financial backers of the show. I call them the patrons of the week. This week's patrons are Wanda, John, Chris, Jillian, Michelle, Nathan, Emily, Victoria, and Tracy. I appreciate all of you. Thank you, patrons, for supporting the show. They give monthly or a yearly donation or a one-time donation. They are supporters of the show, and I appreciate each and every one of them. I'll read new names every week. Thank you so much for being in the patron program. And if you find value in this show and you want to give back, head over to moretob.com where you can sign up and do your thing. I also have some goodies over there for you if you join the patron program. Again, over at moretob.com. Thank you, patrons. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm also going to read you a message that I received. This person wrote, "Hey, this is my first time writing to someone whom I've listened to online. I want to thank you for your podcast, The Overwhelmed Brain. It has helped me a lot, and it finally gave me the feeling that I am not crazy, and I'm actually making healthy choices for myself. I grew up in a household with a mother who suffered from depression, is narcissistic, and gambled. My dad was always the life of the party, but also very toxic. Because my dad gave me unconditional love, I wasn't able to see it until later on in life that his actions were a big part of the reason that my mom was like that. He cheated, he had kids outside the marriage. She checked out on all of us because of the situation between them. I was a sensitive child, and I started overachieving because that gave me little moments of her being happy. As of now, I'm unlearning to be codependent and people-pleasing, and it's not easy, but I have been setting boundaries and doing the work. Oh, I'm also doing the exercises from your book." Thanks again. What a great message. Thank you so much for sharing that. I hope that you are in a better place, at least every day, you're moving toward a better place. It's all about forward momentum to me. If I did a little yesterday, I'm going to do a little bit more today. I may not get there in a month or a year, but I'm always heading toward that beacon, that lighthouse on the shore. I'm steering my ship in that direction, and every day I continue moving in that direction is another day of progress. So don't beat yourself up if you ever think that you're not getting anywhere or you're not going far enough, because as long as you're trying every day, that means you're going in the right direction. I know we hear there is no try, only do. Yoda made that popular. I like to look at it as long as you're trying, you're always doing, because you're taking steps, you're moving forward, and forward momentum builds on forward momentum. So I like to look at it that way. And yes, there is no try, only do. That's fine too. I certainly don't argue with that. But I always see every little bit of progress as progress. So thank you for sharing that. What a wonderful message. And it's tough. I get it. Unlearning some old behaviors. You got to figure out what you're doing. You got to figure out, okay, how am I showing up in these situations? It's important to know how I'm showing up in these situations so I don't show up in those situations like that anymore. I got myself into so much trouble. Trouble in the sense of personal emotional trouble. I got myself into so much personal emotional trouble by hoping and wishing people would start treating me the way I wanted to be treated. But I never showed them how I wanted to be treated. I never said, hey, here's my boundary, or you've crossed the line. But I always wanted to be treated better, but I never told them how to treat me. So they just guessed. They just did what came natural to them. They just saw that my floodgates were open and sent the wave, sent the wave through, and I would just drown. I would drown from my own lack of boundaries and my own lack of standing up for myself until I realized, oh, I have to draw the line. I have to tell people what is a boundary. I have to tell people what's disrespectful and what's not, because some people don't get it, and some people don't think they're hurting you, or some people don't think they're draining you, and sometimes you just have to tell them. And telling them can come with love. It doesn't mean you have to get angry. It can mean, hey, you know what you just said, that wasn't very nice. Could you not say that again? It could mean something like that. As I've said many times, when you say something like that, when you express a boundary and they don't honor that boundary after you express it, you have to question if they are a supportive person, a loving person, or they're only out for themselves. What I mean by that is people who love you want you to be happy, just like I was saying in the last segment. If they're a supportive and loving person, they're going to want to know if they're crossing your line. They're going to want to know because they don't want to hurt you. And it's so easy to tell the difference between the toxic people and the healthy people. Or I should say the loving people and the selfish people. The loving people are going to say, oh my God, I didn't mean to cross that line. I'm so sorry. The selfish people are going to say, what's your problem? How come that's suddenly a problem? I'm not going to change who I am. It's your problem if you can't handle my attitude. You can tell the difference. And I'm not saying all selfish people are bad. Sometimes we do have an attitude toward people, and we got to process it and figure out what just happened, because if somebody suddenly changes who they are, you might have to adjust. But I think loving, supportive people do adjust because they love and support you. That's how I tell the difference, at least. If I express a boundary, I expect people to say, wow, okay, there's your boundary, good to know. Thanks. I'm so glad you told me because I don't want to hurt you. I love you. I support you. So this is great. Now that I know how you want to be treated. And if I show up in a way that you want to be treated, we're going to get along even better. It improves the relationship. That's how I see things. So I want to thank this person for sharing that. And thank you for your words about me in the show. And I just want to say you're doing all the work. You've got the hard part. I just come on the air and tell you what I've done and what I believe works. And almost everything I talk about is something that I've done. If we want to talk about honoring boundaries, I've done it. I've tested it. I've tested it with toxic people. And every time I test, my life always turns out better. I'm not saying there hasn't been pain. I'm not saying there hasn't been loss, but I am saying that the more I appreciate myself, the more I'm compassionate toward myself, the more I stand up for myself, for my character, for my integrity, not in a hard, aggressive way, but in a loving way toward me. The more I do that, the more my life turns out better. Because what ends up happening is the toxic people end up fading away from your life. Remember segment 1, fading away from your life. Sometimes we have to do that. Sometimes we have to fade away from their life by expressing boundaries, by moving out of their vortex of misery. And when we get away from that vortex, we are no longer drawn into their toxicity. And that can take time sometimes. Sometimes you have to make a little bit of progress every day. So again, thank you for writing that. And before I forget, thanks to Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com for some of the music transitions in this episode of The Overwhelmed Brain. And there's one last thing I want to say to you. I think this is important. I think it's important that you keep an open mind, because when your mind is open, you can step into your power. That's where your power is having that open-minded view, that perspective that allows you to see from all angles. And when you can see from all angles, then you'll know what you want for yourself. You'll know what decisions you need to make, because you're going to see things clearly. And that will help you be firm in your decisions and actions so that you can create the life you want. Always take steps to grow and evolve. Continue that forward momentum, because you are powerful beyond measure. And above all, and this is something I absolutely know to be true about you, you are amazing.